CNN's Brianna Keilar is trying to talk stats and statistics, numbers about the shooters, the kinds of shooters and the mass shootings in America. And Gorka clarifies some of her data sets. So let's take a listen.
96% of attackers when you're looking at the U.S. Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center, looking at 172 mass attacks in the U.S. between 2016 and 2020, 96% were non-trans men. So I know you're focusing on this shooter being trans. The shooter was trans, and that is certainly of note. But are you missing the bigger picture here when you zero in on that, instead of more broadly these school shooters as an epidemic, and you perhaps miss the through line that connects them all?
Well, no, because your facts obfuscate two things. You are using data based upon the predominant gun violence, which is gang-on-gang violence with zero ideological content. If you remove all of that, the gang violence on the streets of Chicago, LA, Detroit, then you come down to a much smaller data set. So it's like those who say, gun violence in America causes so many deaths, and then fail to note that the majority of the stats they are using refer to also suicides by gun, which of course is not what we are talking about here today. So let's concentrate on mass shootings at schools, specifically Christian or Catholic schools. Then the data set is wholly different. So don't conflate different data sets just to make a political point.
So what Gorka is pointing out here is that the data set that Brianna Keilar is using conflates a lot of different scenarios when we talk about mass shootings. It also includes mass shootings where there's gang violence, and he's saying, look, that's not ideological. Where two gangs are fighting for turf, where there's criminal activity over drugs, it's not an ideology. They're fighting over tangibles in their markets, right? In their drug markets. What we're talking about is bringing down that data set to only focus on attacks either against Christians, Catholics, but where there's an ideology, a really clear ideology involved. And when you narrow down that data set by ideology, you start to see a really disturbing pattern, that there are these mentally ill people, these trans people, being radicalized, and they're taking, it appears, their anger most specifically on children.